Alice and I were just discussing. There's a term in America that goes. You just throw mud against the wall, and then you wait and see what sticks. We're
Mm,
trying many different things, and I think we are very eager and fearless when it comes to trying different things. And if it works, then we double down. If it doesn't work,
mm,
then we cut and we eliminate, and it's no problem. We don't know what works, because this is a startup. It's just me, Alex, is the face of VietAssist. There's one other guy you're never going to meet. He's about 2 meters tall. He's a older Danish man. He does the coding. He's in the background. He doesn't want to know
nice.
what we do. He just says, just build it, and if you need anything, you let me know, and let me know, and I'll build it for you guys. But we're just a startup trying different things, and we're going into a market that has already been pretty much mature, dominated by people like Vietnam Works, and then even bigger companies from abroad that have come in. So, but we believe in what we do, and we believe that we need to differentiate ourselves through trying different things, like this podcast. We had never done
Mm,
a podcast before this, by the way. So this is a learning experience. And Alex said this comment, and I agree with him. If this podcast ends up being a big flop, a big failure, at least we develop some new skills, right? How to
yes. Yes.
present a camera. So it doesn't
Mm,
matter. And I appreciate you complimenting or noticing that we're trying. We are trying. We're trying different things. And we're going to try more things. And also, by the way, these collaborations with people like yourself are very important. It can't just be a jobs board. That's been done 1,000 times. We wanted to build a place for people coming out of school, people are already in the market. They can go to not only find work, but meet and learn from people like you who have experience, perspective, knowledge that they might not, but they may be seeking. Special thanks to you and other people who are willing to collaborate.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it. I told my students and my community, guys, this is a group you need to be in. There's so many opportunities and also a really different perspective compared with my community. And I think that's a growing market, not only for the VAs, but also for the community leaders, so that we can build a better community to connect to Vietnamese freelancers with the international clients. So kudos to us.
All right, so you have collaborated with over 200 startups and businesses worldwide, including major brands from Dubai, Australia, Germany, and the US, spanning industries like manufacturing, consulting, and services. You have supported international brands in establishing and operating their businesses in Vietnam, and you have coached 100 plus students to become professional VAs in various niches, from executive assistant, sourcing to market research, Airbnb management, etc. And if I can start out with asking, just as I just said, you've worked with over 200 startups globally. What do you think makes or might make Vietnamese freelancers stand out to Western employers, in your opinion?
Okay, so firstly, thank you for the introduction. It's pretty much what I was doing and what I'm doing right now. And so for your question, I think there are three main factors for the Vietnamese freelancer stand out. The first one is the economy shift. There is a big shifting in economy from China to Vietnam, or from other countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar to Vietnam, because there's so much going on now in the world. And the tax war between China and the US make my clients have to seek for another option in terms of manufacturing. Or my clients who have teams in Pakistan or Gaza, they have to find new people because the world there, the people can't work. So the economy shift is what make our freelancers stand out. The second one is the Vietnamese young workforce who is able to speak English well, to work in different industry. And as you can see, the Philippines is really big in this VA industry. However, the Philippines is more well known in terms of social media, customer service, many other things. But when it comes to software engineers, the Philippines is not on the map. But India is good with software engineer. However, in Vietnam, we have a wide range of in services ranging from software engineer, customer service, personal assistant, manufacturing. So when people look at the Vietnamese young workforce, they can see there are so many options they can choose from, and they are comfortable with working with us because they can choose which service they can get. So I think that's the two main important things for the Vietnamese freelancer to stand out from the market.
All right, I think, and this kind of what you're saying also taps into a discussion that An Lam and I have had before, because when we did our market research originally and looked into to what extent do Western employers, just as you're saying, to what extent do they understand the how enormous this pool of talented labor is in Vietnam? We were also noticing that if you go to something like Fiverr or Upwork, you might be able to find some Vietnamese people on there, but to a very large extent, you're gonna see it dominated. I think, at least from what we experienced, you see it dominated by Indians, Indonesians, Philippines. So how do you explain this? Because it's our experience as well that in Vietnam we find so many skilled people, disciplined, ready to commit completely to working for Western employers. And then at the same time, it's like Western employers haven't really figured out yet that this pool of talent exists. So why do you think that is, and do you think it's true?
Yeah. So for now, there are three markets that are big in the VA industry: the Indian, the Philippines, Filipino, and the Vietnamese. Vietnamese is quite new in the VA industry. However, the Philippines and the Indians have been in the BPO business process outsourcing business for over 20 years. Indian would be more about software engineers. The Philippines would be more about telesale, customer service, and everything. And they have a well-built system for a long time. Under big companies, they have many investors from international companies to invest in their companies to build so BPOs in their countries. In Vietnam, there are a few companies like that to offer the financing or bookkeeping service or customer service. However, it's still in the form of business process outsourcing agency. For individually development as a VA, I don't think the Vietnamese freelancer have the resources to advertise themselves on the platforms. They don't know how to run their personal branding on those platforms and how to approach the clients. Meanwhile, the Indians, the Filipino, they are so good at that because they have been doing that for a long time already. So I think that's the biggest difference. The business has been in a long time. However, the Vietnamese don't have the resources to learn branding themselves out there. So that's why the clients didn't know about us much yet.
So it sounds like the current Vietnamese who are looking for virtual assistant remote work opportunities, they have the skills, but they lack in the personal branding department. Are you working with a lot of soon-to-be VAs in Vietnam focusing on the personal branding aspect? Do you find that be a big part of your work right now?
It's a part of my course, of my work, but I like to be personalized. So for each student or each one who want to be a VA and want to say, oh, I want to be personal branding, I want them to really focus on what kind of platforms they want to advertise themselves and how they want people to talk about them. Like when you talk to me, you imagine myself as someone, okay, Duyen is a connector between the Vietnamese freelancer with the international clients. How about them, how they want to advertise? So each person has different points of view and how they want to tell their story. So the first one is the personalization. The second one is the choice of platform. When people talk about personal branding, they normally talk about the social media. You have to post videos, you have to do the content creation, but not everyone can do that. You can do the personal branding on Fiverr, on Upwork, on VietAssist, but you need to understand the platform because every platform has different algorithm, how you can push yourself on those platforms. So that's another way to do personal branding, but it's more about technical side. So I think helping people to do personal branding is one of my job. However, they need to know what they want to tell the world. So I can help them from there.
Okay, and sort of aligned with that, so talking about people who are aspiring to become successful virtual assistants at some point, apart from learning how to advertise yourself and learning about how to use these platforms, what do you think are the skills that are in most demand or are most needed for these aspiring virtual assistants, and how can they acquire or sharpen these skills?
So I wouldn't say it as skills. I would say it's niche. There are a few niches now that are booming in Vietnam, especially in Vietnam because the manufacturing industry aspect is becoming big in Vietnam. The first one is sourcing, the market research, because people want to know what is in the Vietnam market. The third one is e-commerce. Some expats living here, they want to know how to sell products on the Vietnamese e-commerce, not only the international e-commerce like Amazon or Etsy. The fourth is operation assistant. When they come to Vietnam, they need someone to represent themselves to operate the business here. Those are the four main niches that I think are in high demand now. So for each niche, you need to have a different skill set. If you are a sourcing agent, you have to have a good network. You need to know how to negotiate with people. If you are a market researcher, you need to have a good database of how to do the data visualization. So in terms of skill sets, I think that each niche has different skill set, but at the end of the day, you need to be really flexible and adaptive in the business requirement and their ecosystem, because each customer has their own ecosystem and you need to learn quickly to adapt with their requirement.
If I were someone who is very motivated to start in the VA industry, which of those four booming niches would you recommend I start?
I would recommend you start sourcing.
Why so?
Sourcing products and sourcing talent.
Okay.
For now, you are doing the talent outsourcing that connect your clients with the Vietnamese workforce. But the manufacturing part is a big part. And it's so big that everyone can get a piece of it. So I think you can tap into that too.
How long would it take for somebody who's never sourced before in their life, just wants to in 6 months or a year, have a more flexible life work situation? And if they came to you, how long, if they obviously put in the time and the effort, what can they expect in terms of timeline to get started as somebody who's very proficient in sourcing?
So you are asking like someone who wants to be a sourcing agent?
Yes.
And to work in this field.
Right.
So I would say it starts from the kind of product they want to source. So like me, when I first started, I didn't have any network, and merchandising, logistics, and supply chain are not my major. But I start from apparel fashion because my dad is a designer and a tailor. So I have a basic understanding about this industry. So it depends on the industry or the products you want to tap in. So I would say around 3 to 9 months are the good timeline for someone to be a good sourcing agent. But to be clear, I'm not a traditional sourcing agent. Normally, a traditional sourcing agent is someone who will follow through the order. They get paid as a commission on the orders. For me, I work phase by phase. I will divide the workflow in different phases, and then I charge them each phase. And I just charge from the clients, not from the manufacturers, because many clients don't want us to get paid with the commission because they may get discounted based on the commission. So, so that's some of my advice for people who want to be a sourcing agent.
Sort of going back to the fact that you've worked with 100 plus students who wanted to become successful VAs, and with regards to the thing we talked about choosing your niche, skills, etc. So out of these students that have come to you, so based on that vast amount of experience you must have with sort of seeing through what kind of weaknesses do people have and what do they need before they can become successful VAs, what would you say are or tend to be the biggest weaknesses that people have, or the most common barriers that people sort of have to remove before they can jump into this type of business?
That's a good question. Thank you. I think there are two main challenges. The first one is the language and cultural barriers. But to be honest, it's not really about the language barrier. It's more about the mindset. I always tell my students, you have the mental block because they didn't have much experience talking to the Western clients, even though they can think of all of this really good in their mind, but they can't speak it out. It's not about their skills. It's about the how they can react quickly with the conversation. So they need to overcome the challenge. They can do it. They just got the mental block in terms of reacting to the Western clients. And 80%, 70 to 80% of my clients working with me, they work through text, email, and chat. And for those things, you can have a ChatGPT or Google Translate to help you. So most of the work has been easy in communication. So don't be afraid of the language barriers. For the cultural barriers, it would be more sensitive because some cultures has different kind of standards. So sometimes we say something a bit too offensive and make people upset. So we need to pay attention to it too. And the second challenge is using tools in Vietnam market. When people working in when people are working in the business, they use just a few basic tools and technologies like Zalo, their old CRM, which is quite basic. However, with international clients, each of them has different ecosystem and the tools and technology. If you look at the CV or portfolio as a Filipino, they have so many tools they can do.
Right.
Shopify, Amazon, different CRM, but for Vietnamese, they're just like a few Microsoft or Google or Zoom. So the tools and technology are what stopping people from getting more jobs. So I think those are the two biggest challenges for now.
I want to go back to what you said a moment ago, and thanks for sharing that. 70 or 80% of the clients they interact with the sourcing agent in Vietnam through text, and I'm thinking, man,
not sourcing agent only. It's as a VAs like operation assistants or social media manager.
That opens the door, I would think, to thousands and thousands and thousands of people that were probably thinking, like I was thinking, that you have to have great English communication to work as a on the operational side. But if you're saying that if they can operate ChatGPT and you don't have to respond in a second, you might take it an extra 15 seconds because just to run it through a translator, and that's incredible. That gives a lot of people. It lowers the barrier of entry for them if they really want to pursue a freelance or a remote career as a virtual assistant, specializing in sourcing. And I can see why now you're saying sourcing would be the lowest hanging fruit for a lot of Vietnamese people. I think the communication barrier would be the number one driving force that limits and also creates this unnecessary fear and anxiety amongst Vietnamese remote workers, or those who might not work remote but are seeking an opportunity and just trying to figure out, man, where do I go? I love remote work. I love the idea, but if I want to do VA work, when I think VA work, I still think in my mind that you're communicating one-on-one all the time on a video. But you're saying that for this particular niche within the VA work, you can actually avoid most of that, and you can just you do a good job on the sourcing side, and you obviously don't take too long to get back to people when they ask a question. Then, because I know a lot of people, some have reached out to me actually and said, hey, I would like to do this. And then when I was speaking to them on video, I was thinking to myself, man, this person, wow, they have a very steep hill to climb because their communication is not quite there. But this is great. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of people who watch this video and realize that this is a wide open opportunity, if that's the case.
I think there are two things I want to mention in this kind of a language barrier things. The first one is that, especially for sourcing, why they need a sourcing agent in Vietnam? Because they can't speak Vietnamese. So we need to take that advantage to advertise ourselves. They don't need you to talk to them in English. They need you to talk to the local manufacturers, and you just need to report to them. It can be email, it can be WhatsApp or text. The second one is that when you write, you have and you need to set the right expectation. They are really understanding my clients or as a client. As long as you say, to be honest with you, I'm better at writing and reading rather than listening and speaking. So it would be fantastic if we can communicate mostly via text or email, and then we can meet weekly through video call for once a week. I would be really appreciated. So when you set the right expectation, the client knows that you can do the work. Maybe the communication is not as good, but they trust you because you are honest. So that's the two main things I always remind my students, that don't make it as a challenge. Take it as something that you are learning and you are improving yourself.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
brilliant, actually. And I think how you position it there, and when how they can quickly overcome that potential barrier for the employer side as well as for them too, because again, people are going to be fearful, and if you can say, well, you don't have to, and this is how you can communicate and make it clear the expectations, so that they understand, as long as you're doing a great job, and if you have a once a week video call just to update and go through some more specific things, then it's okay. That's awesome. This is completely new to me, actually.
This is amazing. Yeah, and just another example of how the AI revolution is going to sort of have a spillover effect into other types of development, right? Because I think most of the people that we've been talking to about what makes this time period different, right? In terms of why are so many firms flooding the Vietnamese market now, and also starting to looking for people in Vietnam. What we usually hear is that the most significant variable is that suddenly a critical mass of people have started to be able to speak English at a sufficient level. But when you add the AI component and you say but now you actually have a piece of technology that can remove that barrier to entry, or at least lower it significantly, right? So yeah, wow.
Yeah, because when I think of Vietnam, again, for those who don't know, I lived in Vietnam between 2008 and 2020, and one of the things that always amazed me and impressed me about the Vietnamese people is their ability to outwork other people. They don't lack in motivation. They don't lack in cleverness and ingenuity. But I was always, worried that the not a high enough level of English communication would prevent so many people from opportunities. And if what you're telling me is not the case, specifically with this niche, and man, I'm tempted to call up a bunch of cousins in Vietnam and tell them, there's a new career that you might want to have a look at, right?
Yeah, we never know. And I have so many students that are so afraid of speaking English. That's why in my course from the beginning, I didn't have English class. However, I gave them a 3 days bonus in English class, so I can give them the tip or hint in speaking or communicating to the clients. Most of them feel more confident in the way they represent themselves. It's more about the flow, not the fluency. So if you can attract people in the conversation, it's more important than your vocabulary and whether you pronounce that word right or wrong. So I think that's what people should focus more than the pronunciation. It's important, but not that important.
100%.
And then the cultural, you mentioned before the cultural aspect, the cultural differences, and you also said, that maybe once in a while a Vietnamese VA accidentally insults an employer, right? So maybe let's talk a bit about that. Obviously, depending on where in the world these employers are, the cultural differences between Vietnam and that given employer might be different. But are there any sort of generalizable problems, any general problems that you can mention that are usually, due to the cultural differences between Vietnam and other countries? Common reasons for why, misunderstandings might arise.
I wouldn't say the cultural differences are the big things compared with other challenges. However, it's a small things during the conversation. Like when you say, one day my client is eating while having a meeting, right? So she is because she was busy. And one of my team members say, oh, you are getting a bit fat, right? So in Vietnam, when we say someone fat, it's quite normal. It's just like a joke. But I can see how she immediately stopped eating, and she was so upset. So it's more about like the conversation daily, and like the work-life balance too. Like sometimes I would say in the US or in the UK, people focus more on the work-life balance. They won't task you much on Saturday or Sunday. But in Asian countries, if the employers are from Asian countries, some people don't really care. So they just task whenever they need. So we feel a bit disturbed while doing our things, and it's not on the work days. So just a few things that we need to communicate well from the beginning, so that we understand each other. And or my client say he has a Pakistani VA. So whenever she talks to him, it's not a cultural differences. It's just something we learn from culture as a VA. So whenever she talks with him with something cover on her face, he knows that she is outside. But when she is not covering her face, then she is inside at home because she needs to wear that in the public. So I think that's really interesting because we can learn from the cultural changes and differences as a VA through our clients.
So do you teach your VAs to, right from the start of a potential working relationship, to communicate to them clearly these potential things that can be misunderstood? Because I think I agree that if you say it from the beginning, it eliminates any potential misunderstandings later.
There are two steps that I help my students. The first one is that I let them know the basics, the fundamentals of how important it is to appreciate the cultural differences. But the second one is more about after the class, when they they have more contact with the client. When the client send me a message, when the client sends them a message, they will screenshot and send it to me. I will read through the messages under the underlying message, because sometimes they are so new, they don't understand what the message the client is trying to give. So I will analyze it and I will let them know, okay, the client is talking about something else. It's not what you are thinking now. So it's to help them along the way. It's not just the basic fundamentals.
Awesome. How do you? I have a question. What do you see as the future for VA opportunities in Vietnam? Do you see it continuing to explode into the next 5-10 years?
In the next 5 years, I think it's growing. There is so much potential, but it can be saturated quickly. And we can take the Philippines or the Indian market as an example. So to stand out from this growing market, you need to understand where you are in the market now. There are different levels of VAs, beginner, mid-level VAs, or high-level VAs. So when you are a beginner, you know that you need to learn quickly to adapt to follow the client's requirements, to follow the trend, and to tap into the market quickly. But if you are high level, then what else? Are you going to be an individual VA, or you will open an agency or a PPO company, or you will tap into other markets? So the market has potential, but you need to know where you are right now so that you can grow better.
Got it.
All right. So and then let's say that you are a beginner, right? Let's say that, okay, I acquired the skills I need to become a VA, and I'm also, I have acquired some understanding that will allow me to deal with some of these challenges that I'm going to meet going through this type of career. So if you were to coach me, and I'm jumping into this career as a VA now, what would, based on your experience, what would be the first steps I should take to, let's say, attract international clients? How do you do that? Once you jump into this career, how do I attract the first client?
Yeah, okay. So there are a few steps they need to take. The first one is to understand what a VA is and what actually is the client's needs. So it will turn to the second step is to understand your customer persona, who you are aiming to serve, to offer your service. People going to the Vietnam market, or people staying in their home to outsource their work. So that's a different customer personas. So different customer personas will have different portfolios need to be done. So that would be the third one, is you need to do your personal branding on the right portfolio, right platform. And the fourth one is the tools, the technology. So you, let's say you are talking, you need to understand the market right now. So let's say you go on Upwork or Fiverr, you can see different lists of technology tools the clients are requesting from the VAs. So which industry you are going to go, so that you can learn the set of that tools and technology, so that you are confident in offering the service. So there's the four main things. First is to understand the fundamental of being a VA and the client's needs, the customer persona, the tools and technology, and other portfolios and personal branding.
Right.
So the four main things. It would be fantastic or great if they have resources to follow a course, to have a mentor to help them along the way, because it's not about the knowledge. It's about the one who follow with you along the way. However, if you are a self-taught person, then it still works. It just takes time and more resources. Yeah.
Do you think there is demand out there right now? So now you're talking about educating yourself, and you're saying it would be great if people have resources to take courses where they can learn all of these steps, right? And learn, what am I going to do? What do I have to do concretely? Do you think there are a lot of people out there supplying this knowledge in package solutions, or is it very complicated to acquire this knowledge? Do I have to go to 100 different places? And to what extent do you supply this as a all of this knowledge as a coherent what do you call it? As a package solution of learning or or education.
Yeah, so I would say about in the coaching market, for this VA internationally, there's so many courses, but the international courses don't suit the Vietnamese freelancer much because they have the different tax system. They have a different client's expectation compared with people who come to Vietnam to look for freelancers. In Vietnam, there are a few package solutions, but I would say not many people teach math skills like me. People go more about niche, like social media management or email management or e-commerce, etc. For me, I teach a wide range of knowledge, and as well as 10 niches from consulting to e-commerce to Airbnb, OTA management, because those are the skills and the niches I have been through ever my personal experience. And also each student had different skill set. I don't want to give them one or two specific niche that they have to force themselves to do it. So I want them to have a more range of options. So in terms of package solution, yes, there are many, but to find the most suitable one, you need to understand what you want to go for. You want to go niche right away, or you want to go math first and then learn and understand your niche later.
Interesting. I think for the person who isn't clear, and maybe they go broad and then they slowly figure out where they excel and where they have a natural inclination towards. But you mentioned there's 10 different niches and you've done all of them. What is likely for somebody who's starting out? Is it better just to focus on 2, 3, 1, 5? What is a good balance?
I would recommend to understand the background first. So whenever I talk to someone, I need to know what their background, because there are 3 main categories of a VA: administration, creativity, and technical skills. So depending on the background, they can go from each category. Some people are admin before, so they can go from administration background. Some people are from a social media manager, so they can go from creative background and niche up and then find clients from there. So the categorizing each niche like that, we help them to understand them more, and they can find 1 or 2, at maximum 3 niches. They can start. Like me, when I first started, my gig on Fiverr is general virtual assistant. I didn't know about sourcing or market research or anything. But one of my clients said, "Yuyen, can you help to source this product for me? Or can you have to hire this talent for me?" And I say, "Oh, there is a niche somewhere." So I open another gig called sourcing. And then that gig becomes one of my biggest gigs on Fiverr and then in our side work. So we don't know what we don't know until we try. So
you're right. I like that. We don't know what we don't know. That's true.
So 1 or 3 niches are maximum for the beginner.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's cool. I really like the information you're providing here. I don't know about you, Alex, but there's a lot of things here that I wasn't made aware of before. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too. It's a good thing we record this thing so that we actually have this knowledge for later, right? And the reason why we also ask so much about this, what education is out there and what do you provide exactly, is because we might be able to do some research, but there's a lot of understanding that we're gradually increasing our own understanding on a daily basis. And one of the sort of key components of the idea behind the VietAssist project is that, apart from making this connection, creating this connection between Western employers and talented Vietnamese talent, apart from that, also helping the Vietnamese sort of get that supplementary education they need before they can jump into, for instance, a career as a VA. So we're very interested in understanding what is lacking out there and how can we help provide that, right? And maybe by talking to experts like yourself, maybe we can sort of figure out, is there anything missing? Can something be, is there something that is right now scattered in 1,000 different places that could be connected by an expert like such as yourself, for instance, and be put into one big package solution of knowledge and be offered to people who want to go through a coherent course, coherent education, and then be ready for this career. That's why we're so interested in education as well. It's a key aspect of our vision also.
It was just a question that we've talked about it before, but in the near future, we are going to build out technically within VietAssist, the platform, a education hub where experts and coaches like yourself can form your own communities, and people within the VietAssist general community can reach out, connect with, and learn through coaches like yourself. But in the near future, would you be open to the idea of maybe a general workshop where you can, maybe it could be online, it could be live one day or whatever, you can decide, where we can maybe, grab some of the people within the community who might hear this or might be interested and want to reach out to you. It can be something, I'll let you decide the details of it, how long you want to do it, when you want to do it. But I think this whole idea of, when I thought about VA work, just for example, not too long ago, I had a very, very general idea of what a VA was. And after speaking to you and some other people, I'm finding out that it's not one, it's 10 different niches that you can specialize in. And each niche has a certain skill set, a certain tools set, a certain way and thinking and attitude. And the more I learned, the more respect I have, and I think that a lot of people who are now getting interested, maybe in the community, they're seeing us post about VA, but they're also like me. They don't have the information, they don't have the knowledge, and they think very general in terms of VA, maybe just administrative side. But you're saying this research, there's all kinds of different things. Would you be open to that maybe in the future? That'd be great. I think people would love to hear from you.
That would be fantastic. But I would like to say something about me first so that you can understand. This is the first time I collaborate with someone out of my community. I don't know why. I'm like a wolf, want to work on my own things and want to do things individually. But I can feel the vibe between you guys and how much you want to build a community, as well as I think you have the enough resources to connect the Vietnamese freelancer with your clients. So first, yes, I would be really happy to do that. Another thing is that I would do something really meaningful, really practical, not just like shallow workshop that people don't get any profit or benefit from that. So it may take time for us to discuss what we want to give out and what people need to learn about this industry. And even your clients too, I would love to hear their side of the story, what they want from the VA, so that we can have a workshop that can be beneficial for both sides, clients and the VAs. But yeah, I would be really excited to this opportunity.
Yes, so I think a lot of the people in our community would be extremely excited as well. And one thing that we can do is obviously just have an open conversation with the community and also see where people are at with regards to this idea. And and also to provide some context, the vast majority of the people within the VietAssist community right now are either VAs already or aspiring VAs, right? There are also other skill sets and other careers, but the majority are VAs. So this would be absolutely amazing. And we always come back to the same thing. We want to create value, right? So we're just constantly thinking about what is missing, how can we provide it? And to people like yourself who are experts and who are willing to share your experience, we're glad that you want to do that.
And I wouldn't call you a wolf, maybe a tigress, maybe, but not a wolf. That's kind of steep.
Whatever it is. Even a pig pool or a corgi is good for me. I love dogs. So I wasn't
No, no,
happy.
you're too nice and sweet to be a pit bull or a wolf or whatever else. Definitely a tigress.
Thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
thank you.
it.
Yeah, I think
So, yeah,
Alex,
go ahead.
if you don't have any more questions, I mean, I think you do, because I want to keep it also within a certain time frame as per our promise to Nguyen. So I'll let you wrap it up very soon.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, I think I have one more question, and then we can wrap it up, because I think you're right. I think it fits. It's gonna fit with the approximately 45 minutes to an hour. I just want to ask, because one thing that we've heard before, both speaking with people who are trying to become successful VAs, but also people who sort of have an understanding of the VA industry, is that there's also a significant difference between securing your first client and then understanding how to build long-term relationships with clients. So maybe as sort of my last question, my last practical question would be, what would be your number one piece of advice for, or what would be your advice for people who want to secure long-term relationships with their clients?
Okay, to answer this question, I would like to let people know what are the reasons people don't want to work with them with the VA anymore. So what is the reason this client start working with us, especially in Vietnam? The first one is a communication challenge, because we don't know how to communicate quickly. When clients criticize something, some VAs will be angry quickly. They will just try to criticize back. They don't know how to communicate well the situation to give the solution of the problem. They take it too personal. They feel like, oh, they don't care about what I did. They just care about what I did wrong. So that's the first thing, communication challenge. The second one is to set the right expectation. Setting the right expectation is crucial. Maybe sometimes when they are in the interview, they are exaggerating too much about their skills. Oh, I can do this, I can do that, but at the end they can't. So you need to set the right expectation so that clients know you will learn along the way. And there are days that you can't work, or there are days that you have mistake. So the clients need to understand that. So setting the right expectation is really important. The third mistake, they normally, not mistake, but I think I would say the difficulty is the time zone. Western time zone and Vietnamese time zone are quite different. And some people sacrifice they're sleeping so they can work with Western clients, so they can have more opportunities to work at nighttime. So that would be great. But some people don't have that privilege. They can have to work full time, and they have to find that flexible jobs. So the reason they can't maintain the work long term is because they can't follow the time zone or working duration with clients. So that's something we need to work on too. So I think those are the three main reasons that people don't work with us. And if we want to maintain the long-term relationships, then we have to set the right expectation, set the right time zone and working duration, and to communicate better.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much. I think there's so much value in this conversation that we've had so far. Really great, both for us, as we mentioned earlier, and I think really also for the listeners. So I hope people are listening, as always. So do you have any more questions?
Yeah. We'll include in the footnotes of the video, the podcast, where people can find you. But if you also want to share right now where they can find you and connect with you directly, feel free to.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about VA, they can go to the Cộng đồng Virtual Assistant Vietnam, Vietnamese VA community, so that I can share. They can learn more about the VA industry and the personal experience of me and my other team members. And also, they can reach out through you, so that you can connect me with them. So I think that's the best way. Yeah.
We'll be happy to. Yeah.
That's just great. So yeah, and we're gonna put as Lam just said, we're gonna put the link in the description as well. So people will have an easy time finding you. So yeah, and thank you so much for taking an hour out of your busy day to have this conversation with us and just share your vast insight and knowledge with us. That's really amazing. We're very grateful for that. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I hope that one day you come to Vietnam. Let's have dinner, okay? I will take you around. We will have
Dinner's
so
on
much.
dinner's on Alex, by the way. You pick where to eat, and Alex is paying.
All right, okay, fair enough. We're hoping actually, we don't know when, but a few months ago we had no idea how fast the community would be growing, and then we suddenly started growing much faster than we had expected. And if we continue like this, it's very, very likely that we're gonna find ourselves in Vietnam within a few months, probably, right? Depending on a number of things, but it could very well happen. So let's do that. Or maybe you come to Copenhagen. That's also
That would be great. Yeah. So I hope that one day we can have a offline workshop in Vietnam where we can sit down and talk together and to meet the other fellow VAs and to learn more about the international market and the domestic market.
100%. I speak for Alex when I say this, that we're not faking our excitement and our belief in what we do. We really, really strongly want to educate companies, businesses in Scandinavia, specifically, in Denmark, and for myself in the U.S., because I spent most of my life in the U.S., to the incredible and amazing talent that is in Vietnam. I think a lot of businesses don't know, and I've come across, a few friends a year ago, and they said, you know what, Lam, and this is when I've already was thinking about VietAssist, and they said, hey, can you connect me with anybody in Vietnam? And I said, why? Because I have a friend who's worked with some Vietnamese people, and she can't stop praising how good the experience was. And I was thinking, why doesn't everybody know this? Why is everybody, looking to these other countries, whether it be the Philippines, India, or Latin America? My people, they're just as good. And I think they just lacked the opportunity, the exposure. And so, we feel very strongly about what we do. And we want to, of course, we run a business, right? It's a for-profit business, but it's very personal to me because I think there's tremendous amount of talent and potential within Vietnam, and the world needs to know about it. And it's not going to happen unless people like yourself, we collaborate and we work and we just, put out content like this. So people, again, a lot of people don't know, and it's going to depend on people like us to slowly educate and market the people that are in our community, and let them know that there are people who surpass what your expectations are for remote workers. So once again, thank you for your time today. I really learned a lot, and I'm not kidding there. And I've been taking notes. That's why my eyes veer off to the side a lot, because I'm trying to take notes as fast as I can. And I hope that we have more opportunities in the future to collaborate. It'd be great.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Okay, I hope that the Vietnamese VAs we have more chance working with fantastic, amazing community leaders like you guys, and they have more chance to get out their comfort zone and the border of Vietnam workforce. Thank you. Have a great day, and we will talk soon. Okay.
All righty. Take care.
Yeah. Keep in touch. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Yeah.